This just revealed a lot on the Canucks as an insider gives us an update on the Kevin Lankinen extension. We get more updates on Filip Hronek, and the Canucks have been linked to a former All-Star. We're going to break all this down and more later on this episode. Before we get into that, I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone subscribed. We're trying to reach our goal of 6,000 by Friday. So if you're not subscribed yet and you're enjoying this daily Canucks content, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button as we'll be giving you updates for the rest of the season. Well, let's hop straight into the first topic today, which is we got an update from Donnie and Dolly going in on the Kevin Lankinen extension. We see this. And once again, shout out to Canucks Summaries on Twitter for filling out this, but it says multiple sources say the Canucks have talked to his agent about an extension. Believes the Canucks would like to get it signed sooner rather than later. The NHL and NHLPA will discuss the next salary cap in February. You can read through this, but it looks like Lankinen's camp will take a cautious and patient approach. Lots of agents, teams, and players are waiting to find out the cap numbers for next season. Now, looking at Lankinen, since he joined this Canucks team, he has been a saving grace. We see in the start of the season was Artur Shilov's and Lankinen coming in as a 1A, 1B goaltender, but we've seen Lankinen run away with the show. Kevin Lankinen, since joining the Canucks, has went 16, 7, and 8 with a .906 save percentage. These are the stats before going into the game versus Winnipeg tonight or yesterday, depending when you're watching this. We've seen Kevin Lankinen set a NHL record with 10 straight road wins to start a season, which is more than any goaltender has ever had. Lankinen has been perfect for this Canucks team. They have him for under $1 million. He's a UFA at the end of the season. But the biggest thing is, and like this article says, Lankinen's camp will take a cautious and patient approach. He knows what he's worth at this point, especially with how well he's been playing. Where coming in, he looked like a starting goaltender, like a guy that could hold down a starting goaltender job. Now, Darren Dreger did go into this as well, and he spoke, and once again, shout out to Canucks Summaries, but Dreger said, doesn't know how hard the Canucks are pushing to get an extension done, thinks Lankinen is solely focused on playing hockey, believes Lankinen will wait to get negotiated, mentions how Demko's health can change the direction and a 4x4 extension would woe his agents, or doesn't think it would woe his agents. So looking at this, it's going to get quite interesting, but seeing the update that the Canucks do want to talk to his agent, that Lankinen wants to focus on his play, and a 4x4 might not woe him, does make things quite interesting. But what would you guys give Kevin Lankinen on the open market? Would you like to see him return as the backup or the 1B goalie for the Vancouver Canucks, especially with how well he's been playing this season? Let me know down in the comments. But with that, let's hop straight into the second topic today, which is we get an update on Filip Hronek, and this was from Rick Tocchet himself. Thinks he's going to play tonight, has worked really hard, skated a lot, and has tested himself recently. Is ready to go and wants to play, isn't going to keep him out of the lineup. The way him and Hughes play together is elite, and he believes he will play with Hughes when he returns. Now, seeing this is huge to see, coming from a player that was out with his lower body procedure while also having an upper body procedure, coming back before the 8-week timeline that they had him. Now, this was from Noah Strang as well, and it was quite interesting to see. Tonight is the first time the Canucks have had healthy Hronek, Demko, Petey, Miller, Boeser, and Hughes play together this season. I know Canucks fans, including myself, have not been super happy with how the play has been this season. The Canucks are slowly sliding down the standings. They came off a huge win versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're going to Winnipeg to play against a hot Connor Hellebuck, where they really need to push another road win and return home and go on a bit of a streak. But this team has dealt with so many injuries. As you can see from this tweet alone, these key players, Hronek, Demko, Petey, Miller, Boeser, Hughes, these guys haven't all been in the same lineup together this season. Demko isn't set to start tonight, but this is the first time the Vancouver Canucks will have this healthy core finally back. They can go on a run. We've seen this team, the Magic, they can really push what we've seen from last season. They upgraded. They still have draft picks to continue to add, but looking at this, it does add a lot of hope going into the second half of the season, and especially with Filip Hronek returning to this team. Now, we'll get into the last topic today, which I know this is a jam-packed episode, but the Canucks have been linked to a former All-Star, and that former All-Star is John Klingberg. Darren Dreger said earlier today, John Klingberg is closing in on resuming his NHL career. Toronto, Ottawa, Edmonton among the teams with expressed interest. A decision expected to be made in the next 2 weeks. Klingberg had his hip surgery in 2023. But looking at the retweet on this, he did continue by saying, Vancouver among the teams that has kicked tires with interest in Klingberg. However, unless something changes, the Canucks are not as keen as others. Now looking at this, the first thing, yes, John Klingberg was out for a majority of the season last year after he had his hip surgery. But John Klingberg is a defenseman that at one point was an all-star and very elite at what he did. And that was getting pucks on net, moving the puck, and being a perfect offensive defenseman. Look at his seasons in with the Dallas Stars. You can see season highs of 10 goals, 13 goals, 67 points back in 17-18, where he played 82 games and put up 8 goals, 59 assists. This is a guy that has experience in the playoffs. 26 games, 4 goals, 17 assists for 21 points, making it to the finals with the Dallas Stars, where I believe they faced the Tampa Bay Lightning. But looking at John Klingberg's career, yes, he has slowly dropped off. He joined the Anaheim Ducks team in the middle of a rebuild. He really couldn't get anything going before joining the Minnesota Wild and almost being at 9 points in 17 games, 2 goals, 7 assists, having 4 playoff games, putting up a point per game at that pace. He joined the Toronto Maple Leafs, putting up 5 assists in 14 games, a -7, and went down with his injury, which led to him having to have a hip surgery like this tweet says, and this held him out for quite some time. Now looking at John Klingberg, and the reason why I do want to reach on this and kind of point out with John Klingberg, he could come in and be that extra puck moving defenseman. Am I saying John Klingberg's going to come out and score 67 points again? No. So don't even comment that. But John Klingberg coming in, 1-year deal, $900,000 to join this team. This would be the same deal that Erik Brannstrom's being paid. Yes, Erik Brannstrom just went to Abbotsford, but the biggest thing is adding experience, which John Klingberg has in the NHL and in the playoffs, including the Stanley Cup Finals, could be a big piece for this team. Klingberg could come in, play this right side, replace someone like Noah Juleson to play with Derek Forbort. Maybe he could play with someone like Carson Soucy or try to play his off wing and play the left side with Darren Hayes. But the biggest thing with John Klingberg is he brings a puck-moving element that all fans know the Vancouver Canucks need. This could be a low-risk, high-reward. You get him for $900,000. If things don't work out, send him to the minors. You can move on from this guy. But having him in as a 7th or 8th defenseman, especially with the Canucks dealing with injuries, we've seen Hughes go down. We've seen Hronek just returning. Getting John Klingberg on a $900K contract as a low-risk thing could be huge for this team. But what's your guys' thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on the Vancouver Canucks maybe being in on John Klingberg? What's your thoughts on Filip Hronek possibly and looking very likely to join this team in Winnipeg versus the Jets tonight? And what's your thoughts on the Kevin Lankinen extension talks and how much would you give him at the end of the season? Let me know down in the comments. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back maybe tonight with another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark Bye, and take care.